going back over the game, I know it's been a few days, but, offensively, situational football, into half, into game, really good. I mean, came away with points and left no time for them to respond. The touchdown right before halftime and then the field goal at the end to seal it. Our red zone, we were really good, 3 of 4, and the one we didn't convert was because we were in field goal range for the win at the end. There's things we got to do a little bit better. We turned the ball over. Run game wasn't real good. Our efficiency wasn't good. Didn't have the explosives that we feel like we need to have in any given week. And the short yardage wasn't good. Third and fourth and short. Had too many MAs too. So it wasn't real clean offensively. We made the plays we needed to, but there's things that we can clean out. That being said, Tim Patrick obviously played outstanding. That was his best game with us. And so many things he did. Everybody sees the touchdowns, but there was a number of blocks that he made in that game that were huge. So guys playing at a high level. Goff, I thought, was outstanding. Take away the turnover, and he played lights out, and he was clutch for us. Once again, critical moments just comes through. Playing at a high level. It was impressive. Laporta came through, big plays. Skip did a hell of a job, filling in for Deck. Thought that was one of his best games of the season. So defensively, look, we talked about the focus was playing hard and finishing, and just lay it on the line, play hard on all 3 levels. We had about, 3 or 4 new guys just stepped in, and a number of guys we were going to rely on. They did that. We got a takeaway, which was crucial. That led to 3 points. Third down, we were 1 of 5, and that's outstanding. And we were really sticky in coverage. There's a couple of things that got us in coverage, but overall, our man-to-man coverage was really good, man. We were all over those guys. What we didn't do well, run game efficiency. Gave up too many per carry. Pass efficiency there as well. And red zone, Now we've got put in a couple hard spots, the turnover and downs, so that doesn't make it easy on them. But that being said, O'Connor played outstanding game. We asked a lot of him. Most plays he's played, and he was disruptive, and he really played the nose and the big end. So he's got a lot of versatility, and he showed up for us. Zadarius Smith, was highly productive. In the run and pass game, but really showed up in a big way. And then Zeke Turner, he had to play the real linebacker for us for a number of plays. He did well. And then Arnold, I thought that was Arnold's best game of the season. So that was good to see. And then special teams, really, we only had a couple of punts. One of them was 50 yards, and they had a holding call because of Dorsey once again. Dorsey either makes the play or he's going to call us a penalty. So it ends up being a 60-yard net. And then 2 plays later, we get the turnover. So just massive, hell of a punt, hell of a job by Dorsey once again. The guy's, he's a weapon for us on teams. And then our field goal protection unit, those guys that blocked one in Chicago for the game winner 3 weeks ago. Our guys, held in there. I thought there's things to clean up, but we protected really well. So that was kind of it in a nutshell. It's a good win for us, and now we're on to the next one.
So the next one, just the task ahead, specifically with Josh Allen and MVP Canada. You look at the game Sunday, 3 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns. Just his dual threat and how challenging that is to prepare for, because he's a big physical kind of guy, which is a little bit different.
He is challenging. I haven't had a chance to truly deep dive him yet, but I do know this: he's taking care of the football. He's taking the plays that are there, and once he progresses, it's not, then he uses his legs. So I feel a more patient player out of him, and because he's playing at a very high level, and that makes him even more dangerous. So it is. He's got a big time arm. He's accurate. He can read defenses, and then he's got the physical ability to take off and run, and he can run over people, he can run around you, he can get on the perimeter. So this is it's going to be a huge task for us. It's not going to be easy.
How much help do you expect to be back this week?
I've don't know. I know this. Every one of our guys, it's much more positive. You know, everybody is healing up, and so we're better than we were last week. I don't know yet how many we'll get back, and honestly, I may not know until Thursday of this week. You know, just exactly where we're at. You know, I'm feeling better about Decker, but yet I need to see. You know, and then the D line is in flux. You know, there's a chance Levi could be back. You know, Max got a pass protocol. He's in and everything. He did not take a step back. So as long as he can clear, you know, that sounds positive. But it's just going to take time to figure some of this out.
Kind of longer term, but we're about 2 months out from his injury. How much more optimistic are you that he can come back at the end of the season?
And honestly, I'm where I was when the injury happened, and that's only just saying. Look, this is a tough injury. I mean, it is, but I just would never count him out, just knowing who he is. And he's working, he is progressing, but I can't give you a timeline. And I don't know. I don't know if he'll have the time to get there, but if anybody could, it's him.
Clarity on any of your IR guys in terms of their ability to return. I know Jalen, I think, is in his window where he could, and then Enzo, Rakestraw, if he or maybe next week, any of those guys are maybe going to be able to return to practice here soon.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have that conversation about Rakestraw and Iffy next week, you know, because that'll be through their 4-week period. You know, Alex, we feel like is on pace towards the end of this season. You know, could be the last game. It may not be till the playoffs, but we feel good about getting him back. I think Khalif's probably in that boat, you know, probably where Alex is at. And then, you know, Jalen, he's better. Jalen Reeves-Maven is better. But it's just slow going right now. So I don't really know where he could be, or, you know, there is a chance we get him in a few weeks. There's a chance we don't. So it's just kind of, you know, it's just where we're at.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Main Event Football Show. It is I, Main Event Mike. Must be Monday, must be 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to spend the next hour with you talking about the Detroit Lions and football around the NFL. It's a glorious time to be a Detroit Lions fan. Welcome to the program. Put it in the comments. I want to hear from you as well. It is Main Event Mike, and we are broadcasting live on the Villain Squad Network. That is on Facebook at Lions Villain Squad. Be sure to follow the page. Definitely, we just crossed over 60,000 villains. Congratulations to Russ Wayne and the boys. Also, we are broadcasting live into Joe Chapp's network. That is Detroit Lions News Podcast, Joe Chapp's Twitter account, X, Joe Chapp. Also, JC Sports Network on YouTube. Thank you to Joe Chapp and the boys for letting us go there as well. Also, broadcasting live into the Huddle Sports Network on Roku TV. Also, broadcasting live into Detroit Lions Villain Squad YouTube page. That's at Villain Squad on YouTube. This program brought to you today by NFLshop.com. The Villain Squad Network is an official marketing partner of NFLshop.com. You can use that QR code or the comment that is in the Facebook comments in the link that's in the comments. Use the one that's in Facebook, not the one in YouTube, please. And then you can save up to 30% off on any NFL gear. Get some swag in time for the holidays and leverage the power of the villain and save a little bit of money. Welcome to the program, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about a plethora of topics. One being the criticism that Dan Campbell's getting in the media for his cowboy ways, for his cavalier attitude, for the way that he has testicular fortitude, is being questioned by some pundits and by some experts and by some people that I respect as well. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about you, the Detroit Lions fans. And we're going to dwell in gratitude and talk about what an incredible fan base this is and how it has really shown out this season. Also going to talk about players that the Lions have coming back from injury. There's a nice little squad of players coming back from injury. You can see some there. DJ Reader, Levi Onwuzurike, Taylor Decker expected to be back. So even though the injuries, the Lions have been hit harder than any team in the NFL, arguably, but there's some relief on the horizon. Also some good reports about Aiden Hutchinson's recovery coming back in. I'm going to have some updates on a bunch of player injuries, as we heard from Dan Campbell there at the beginning of the program, talking about some of these players that are going to be coming back from injuries. We're also going to be talking about the lightning rod, the one that divides this fan base, the electric, the number 12 overall draft pick, Jameson Williams, who's having a career year already. He has not been fined for throwing a ball in the face of Tyreek Stevenson, and we're going to delve into that a little bit. But before we do that, let's take a look at what we got in the comments on this view here. Having a hard time seeing that. So maybe I'm going to bring in my compadre here, Mr. Russell Wayne, before we get into the monologue. You know what? We'll do that later. Let's go right now. Let's talk about it. Rob Parker. Do you know who that is? He's a sports columnist for the Detroit News, Detroit Free Press, I believe. I've been following him for years, back when they had these things that you could buy at the store called a newspaper. And you used to be able to read this thing, right? And this guy, Rob Parker's had a column for years. And he's always been critical of these Detroit Lions. But I've always respected his opinion because he's not a bandwagon jumper. He's not someone who is going to tell you what you want to hear. He's going to give it to you straight. And I respect people like that give it to you straight. And Rob Parker, I've always liked his writing, but he was on Fox Sports Radio this week. And he said that Dan Campbell is a bad coach. He was also quoted as saying that all the pieces are there except for the one weak link on this team, and that is Dan Campbell. Now, I've been pretty critical of Coach Campbell a little bit too. Rob Parker obviously has more weight than I do with his opinion. But Rob, you're going a little too far here, okay? He says that Rob Parker was quoted as saying, quote, he's putting the team in harm's way, unquote. Do you think he's going too far? Going for it 4 out of 5 times, going for it on 4th down on his own 30-yard line. It's been rehashed over and over. Even the players say, we know we're going for it on 4th down. So why come out and call this guy out? Teddy Bruschi, also NFL analyst, former player for the New England Patriots, said, and I quote Teddy Bruschi here, look, there's no more ankles and kneecaps to bite. You're on top. Start playing like it and start coaching like it. Come on, Teddy Bruschi. Don't you think that's a little harsh? I mean, in that little backhanded jab you took there at his opening inaugural speech when he took over on the team, there's no more ankles to bite, no more knees to bite. Shut up, Teddy Bruschi. Come on. The guy has led us to the promised land, to relevancy. That's the promised land for Lions fans. Okay, I understand he's got a cowboy attitude, but I'm more in tune with what Rob Parker said. Rob Parker said, come straight out and said that Dan Campbell cost us the Super Bowl last year. It's hard to argue with that when you think of if we'd have taken field goals instead of going for it on 4th down, we would have won the game. We could have let them score a touchdown on every possession if we would have just taken the field goals. We were so far out in front at halftime. So it's hard to argue with him when he says that. Okay? But right now, for crying out loud, we have one loss. One loss, Rob Parker. And you're going to sit there and say we're putting the team in harm's way and that this is a weak spot on the team? Oh, they've got such great players, but the weak spot is the coach. Look, Rob, if it wasn't for the coach, they probably wouldn't be great players. The NFL is full of great players. What separates them is guys like Dan Campbell that can get the most out of them. Put it in the comments. Tell me if you agree with that or not. Rob Parker and Teddy Bruschi both being pretty tough on our coach. I could see if we would have lost the game. And this, I guess, is their point. Sure, you won the game this time. But if you keep coaching like that, it's going to come and bite you eventually.
But they always thought they were.
I don't think Lions care. Lions fans care. We're going to ride with this guy. Ride or die. That's how we are. Lions fans. And that's what I want to talk about today also, is Lions fans. I want to talk about how we are, hands down, the best fans in the NFL. And this season is really showing it up. I want to talk about the kind of fans that there are as well. Are you familiar with the term bandwagon fan, also known as a bandy? Are you familiar with the term casual, meaning you're just a casual fan? Well, I'm here to speak for all Lions fans tonight, folks. And I'm here to tell you that if you are a casual fan or a bandwagon fan, there is plenty of room on the bandwagon here for you. The Lions have been beat down for so long. Are you one of those fans who didn't really start paying attention to the Lions until they started winning? Are you one of those fans? Are you one of those fans that were always with the team, like Russell Wayne and myself? When we started these programs in this network, we were 3-13-1. It was a brutal season to get through, but we knew good things were on the way. We knew the right people were in place. Did you just start watching what's happening and now you're rah-rah Lions? You went and bought a new jersey. That's okay. I don't hate on you. There are some Lion fans that do hate on you for that. They don't feel like you deserve to be able to root for this team, which is ridiculous, obviously. You can look around, folks. You'll see this all over social media. You're just a bandwagon fan. You're just I was a Lions fan before it was cool. Well, so what? So what? You'll take all you fans, because I'll tell you right now, the Lions were on primetime TV so far this year, a record 5 times plus Thanksgiving. So that's 6 high-profile primetime games. Week 18 is still a possible flex for the Minnesota Vikings to make it an even bigger record of 7 times for the Detroit Lions. Why? Is it because we're so good? No, it's because last Thursday's game against the Packers was the highest rated Thursday night football game in history that wasn't played on Thanksgiving. The highest rated Thursday night football game in history, because Lions fans show up. We show up to watch. We show up to root. We show up in opposing stadiums. And that's money, folks. That's good for business for the NFL. Kudos to you, Lions fans. Kudos to you for taking over away stadiums. The only team in the NFL I know of that the opposing team has to call a timeout because in their own building, our fans, they can't hear the snap count. It happened in Houston. It happened in Arizona. It even happened in Arrowhead Stadium in the preseason. In the preseason, the Lions fans caused a false start or a timeout. Kudos to you, Lions fans. And there's plenty of room. Let's keep this train rolling. If you see someone bad-mouthing someone for fanning, shame them. Shame them. Don't tell another person how to fan. If you want to hang out in the closet all the years that we're stinking, if you're not suffering all the headaches that we suffered on draft day, good for you. And now you can reap the rewards of all of our pain, because it's double satisfying for us. I can promise you that. For all of us long-suffering fans who are not casuals, who are not bandwagon fans, for us, this is beautiful. And as disappointing as it would be if we don't make it to the Super Bowl or if we don't win the Super Bowl, it's still so satisfying to have things like breaking streaks Every streak we've faced this year, we've snapped it. We're on the verge of one more win being a franchise record in wins, and there's still 4 games left. 4 games left, and we've already clinched a playoff spot. Kudos to you, Lions fans, for bringing us to prime time because you show up at the games. Hell, you're chanting Jared Goff at hockey games. You're chanting Jared Goff at softball games where it doesn't even matter. In other states, in other sports, we are enthralled with the Detroit Lions. The fever is high. The fever is so high that the Michigan Wolverines won a national championship in football, and it was barely a blip on the radar because the Lions had just consumed everyone's thoughts. This town's thirsty for a winner, and you Lions fans are showing up, and I want to say thank you to you. You've also showing up on social media here in this program. Our program keeps getting more and more viewers, and we appreciate all of you. Everybody who's in the comments, everybody who watches us on a recorded version, thank you, Lions fans. Thank you again. Dan Campbell even said it after the Houston game. The traveling fans caused the Houston Texans to have to call a timeout because they couldn't hear the snap count. This is a team that won their division last year. And they have one of the highest jersey sales in the NFL with CJ Stroud. They are vested in their team, but we overtook their stadium. It's not like the Carolina Panthers where they're giving away seats for 35 cents, okay? You guys showed up and showed out. And the players notice it. The coaches notice it. Everyone around the league is noticing it. The league executives, the TV executives, they all notice it as well. The players, Jared Goff even said a couple weeks ago, Jared Goff said, our fans don't just come to watch the game. They come to affect the game. How many times you ever heard that said about a fan base? I've never heard that. They come to affect the game. Adam McIntyre's in this chat. He says, main event, Mike, this is my first time on the show, bro. Lions Nation, let's go. Let's go. Jordan Miho in the house. It didn't help the ratings on Thursday Night Football since I was working. If they keep track of people madly swiping refresh on the Google ticket, I was part of that crowd. Yeah, maybe. I'm sure they do track that. Of course they do. Wherever you are watching that, those minutes are logged, and they know Lions fans are tuning in. And that's setting us up, folks. Can any of you remember living within the blackout radius like myself? Live in the blackout radius and you can't watch the game on TV because you didn't sell enough tickets? It's never going to happen for a long time. Thank you, Lions fans. Ken Fisher says Lions open up a 1.5-point favorite against Buffalo. We are going to talk about the Buffalo game next week at the end of this program. Next week's Buffalo game. It's a big one. Definitely going to talk about that. Davey's in the house. What's up? Detroit Fan Man says, I love how the story is MCDC wanted to kick on that last 4th down. Instead, it was Goff who said we should go. Dan said, if you want to go, let's go. And they ran the same play again. Yeah, that's awesome. That's why players love Dan Campbell. And then he falls down on 4th down just to add to the drama of it. It was amazing. Steve's in the house says, no way, no how this team is where it is without MCDC. They aren't pissed because we kept the ball away from the Packers at the end. Without that, we might have lost that game. 50-50 coin flip is worse odds. I agree. And that's what Dan Campbell said. He didn't want to give the ball back. He wanted to finish the game on offense. It was a great call. And even if we didn't get it there, I would have been okay with that call. It was the one we didn't get that bugged me. You're on your own 30-yard line. You've got the best punter in the league. If you didn't have the best punter in the league, I'd say go for it, Dan. But you have a weapon in Jack Fox. You have a weapon. Use it when you're on your own 30-yard line. Yeah, it's easy to, armchair quarterback it the next day. But that one, Stevie Wonder could see it. You're on your own 30-yard line. It's still early in the game. A lot of game to be played. We're very fortunate. Well, I think they got a field goal out of that. I think we're very fortunate that that's all we got out of that. But to your point, Steve, without Dan Campbell, we're not there. And that's what I say to Rob Parker and Teddy Bruschi. and these pundits that are poo-pooing him. Oh, you got great players. They wouldn't be great players without Dan Campbell. We're talking about 4th round, 3rd round, 6th round, 5th round draft picks. This guy's squeezing every bit out of them. Yeah, and we have to put up with some cowboy stuff once in a while. That's the price you pay. I wouldn't trade Dan Campbell for anyone at this point. Not for this team. Teddy Bruschi, with all due respect, Teddy Bruschi, you played your entire career with the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick as your coach the entire time. Bill Belichick never went for it on 4th down. He was as safe as it comes. Why? Because he believed in his defenses, and he always relied on them to bail them out and put Tom Brady back on the field, which they usually did. That's great for Bill Belichick. That's great for Teddy Bruschi. These are the Detroit Lions, and they belong to Dan Campbell, and they're going to do it his way. Don't disagree. Henry Gray says he agrees with me. Scotty Reno says Rob Parker's done nothing but shit on the Lions for decades. True that. He never has a positive word. Never. He's a clown. I'm not sure it makes him a clown, though, because as a journalist, he's very skilled, Scotty. He's a very skilled journalist. But he does take exception and issue, it seems like, with the Detroit Lions year over year over year, regardless of who the coach is. He's always been critical of the Lions. But he's a skilled journalist. When you hear him talk about reading, when you read his stories that he writes about a Red Wings game or a Pistons game or a Lions game, he's very good as a journalist. But he's very opinionated, and he's not going to sugarcoat anything. And he's saying what a lot of people are saying, Scotty. Don't think it isn't true. There's a lot of people out there that agree with him that Dan Campbell is costing us, that we could be even better than we are if Dan Campbell weren't so cavalier about the things he does. And every time it seems like Dan Campbell's, not going to be that way, he goes back to doing it again. So much of what he does is on feel, on gut. And not every game is like that. Well, there was one game this year, Jake Bates kicked 4 field goals. See, he didn't hardly go for it. He kicked the field goal because he thought that that's what it called for at that time. That's what his gut, his feeling was. And we've got to go with it. We really don't have a choice, do we? Love it. Love it. Keep putting your comments in. I love it. Good to see you and your dad. Hope you're doing well. Davey says, good evening, One Pride. Takes more. Absolutely. Moving on. As we said, there are some injured players that are coming back. Levi Onwuzurike, Josh Paschal, Emmanuel Mosley, DJ Reader expected to be back this week. Taylor Decker also expected to be back this week. Folks, those are huge. Taylor Decker being out, kudos to Dan Skipper. He did a good job filling in for him. He got us the wins, albeit 3-point wins against division opponents. We got the wins. But now Decker's back. It means Goff should have more time on his blind side. That's going to be huge for us. Also, that right side behind Penei Sewell is where we were making our living running the ball last week. Maybe we can get something. There was nothing going to the left. Maybe putting Taylor Decker out there is going to open that up a little bit too. Ken Fisher says, I thought it was a great move by Jared Goff collecting the football after Tim Patrick's TD catch of his first season out of the end zone and gave it to him on the sidelines. Tim had a great game as well as the other 5 receivers, all caught at least 5 passes. Yes, Tim Patrick with 2 touchdowns, his first touchdown since 2021. And what a class act, Jared Goff going to retrieve that ball for him. That's a great, great call out from him. Bear down, Mike. Good evening, Mike. Good evening, sir. So good to see you in here. Oh, the Bears. The Bears. Poor Bears, Mike. I'm sorry. Hey, it's bright future, though, I would think. Who will the Bears take with the first overall pick next year? Asking for a friend. I don't think the Bears are going to have the first pick, for sure, unless they trade up to get it or something. Andy Sheridan in the house says Dan Gamble is wildly good. Right. But could we be even better? Would we have went to the Super Bowl last year, Andy? That's the fact. If he takes the field goal every time, we have too many points. Even if they score a touchdown on every possession, we can win the game and go to the Super Bowl. So there is that. And that's not nothing. Adam says a 30-yard line got me too. My wife's a Packer fan. She was stoked. I was flabbergasted. Oh, I'd love to have been a fly on the wall on that one, Adam. You and the wife in the living room. We go for on a 4th down to get stuffed, and she's like that. And then you could take a picture of her at the end of the game when she's like, and you could send that to us. That'd be awesome. We'd probably send you a T-shirt for that. Love it. Bear Down Mike says, I'm embracing the tank. But just for morale, they need to win at least one more game. Mike. First rule of Tank Club. Never talk about Tank Club. Nice. On ESPN today, they're claiming Deion Sanders' son will go number 1 overall to the Raiders. Ken Fisher. God, what a Raider thing to do. If they do. What a Raider thing to do. Shadur Sanders, first overall pick to the Raiders. Now the Raiders might get the first pick, right? There's a couple of 2-10 teams out there, though. It'll be a race to the bottom. And Bear Down Mike, I hate to tell you, the Bears are behind that race. But as we said, there are some players coming back from injury. A little tidbit I dug up here for you guys because I love you. Did you know that NFL teams are allowed to return 8 players from injured reserve during the season? That's it. If you put someone on IR and then you bring them back and reactivate them, you only have so many slots. You only have 8 slots, 8 times that you can do that. The Lions have already used 3 this season. So they have 5 moves left from the IR, and there's 4 games left. They also get 2 additional IR moves once the playoffs begin. So total, the Lions have a total of 7 IR moves between now and the Super Bowl. And they're going to be smart about it. Some players they put on IR and some they didn't, like linebacker Alex Anzalone. He's eligible to come back now, week 16. They had to use an IR for him if he's going to come back. That would constitute one. Khalif Raymond, eligible to come back week 17 versus the Niners. Defensive back Ennis Rakestraw is eligible to come back week 16 against Chicago from his hamstring. And defensive back Ifatu Melifonwu is eligible to come back week 16 against Chicago from a finger injury. So these are potential players that the Lions could use those final 5 of the regular season IR moves to bring back to the active roster. The 3 they've already used is on Broderick Martin, Ifatu Melifonwu once, and then he got hurt again. Emmanuel Mosley, who's also expected to be back this week. So there is some relief coming for the Lions, even though they're all beat up. And they still have plenty of IR moves down the stretch to be able to compensate for any other injuries that happen. They got guys coming back, and they've been winning while those guys are out. Now, there's some guys that aren't coming back. And even though they leave an outside chance, Marcus Davenport is probably not coming back. Aiden Hutchinson, if he comes back, will be Super Bowl NFC title game at the earliest. So we are getting some help. It's not going to look as bad on defense this week against Buffalo. Good thing. We're going to be taking a look at this dangerous Buffalo Bills team today as well. But I want to switch topics right now and talk about Jameson Williams. J-Mo, Waymo. One of my favorites. This kid's electric. Just love him. I hope you all will hearken back to the beginning of the season on the morning program called Lions Villain Report with Russell Wayne. We're on that show, and we're predicting what Jameson Williams' stat line will be for the 2024 season. I believe I predicted 750 yards. I believe Russell Wayne said 1,000 yards. And we laughed at him. We laughed at Russell Wayne when he said 1,000 yards. Well, guess what, folks? Jameson Williams, as of right now, has 39 receptions, 710 yards, 4 touchdowns. He averages a whopping 18.2 yards per catch. He has doubled his yardage from last year. He is a bona fide number 2 wide receiver now, in my opinion. He's shown he can get the dirty work done over the middle. He's shown he can get behind the defense. And he's having a great year. This kid's been in so much trouble. You had the gun thing recently. I mean, right? The performance enhancing, the gambling. Hell, this kid let off some fireworks and a couple of years ago on 4th of July, and Lions fans were ready to run him out of town. After that penalty against Chicago on Thanksgiving, where he threw the ball in Tyreek Stevenson's face, the amount of hate that J-Mo was getting on social media was disgusting. So many Lions fans, get rid of this guy. He doesn't bring enough to the team. Well, we find out now there's no fine on the play. In fact, Tyreek Stevenson has been fined on the play because looking at it from another angle, we could see that he tripped J-Mo on his way out. So I hope you Lions fans who are calling for his head on that, hopefully that will balance that out for you a little bit.
Stay classy, Chicago.
Tripped on his way out of bounds and a swipe taken at him as he was falling. Shitty. That's shitty. Tyreek Stevenson fined $19,697 for that. Nelson from the Simpsons just came in there and got you on that one, Tyreek. $19,697 for tripping Jameson Williams. I love that. That's not just unsportsmanlike, though. You could hurt someone. Tripping a player on the sideline is enough to start a bench-clearing brawl. You're lucky that you did it so sneakily that the referees didn't even catch it. People on that, you were on your own. I mean, that is just, that's enough to get you pummeled the next time you go out on the field. Good thing they benched you. It's terrible. It's not as bad, though, as the Washington game where you're out there talking smack to the fans while they throw the Hail Mary behind you. That's way better. And you were suspended one game by your own team for that. And now you're fined by the NFL for $19,697. This guy was NFC Player of the Week in Week 1. He was an integral part of what the Bears wanted to do. He was a 3rd-round draft pick, I believe, and they had him plugged in as a starter. You can get a 3rd-round DB as a starter in the NFL, a frontline starter. That's a good draft pick. You did well. Now it's looking like that's not the case. What do you think about that, Bear Down Mike? Still wrong, though. Still wrong, though. Throwing the ball in his face is still wrong. But all he did was he just lobbed it up to him. Did you see how the guy had no reflexes? I mean, it wasn't like he fired it at him. He just tossed it up. And he just stood there like the house beside the road and let it whap him in the face. Maybe that's why you're on the sideline, Tyreek. Ken Fisher wrote War and Peace. Mike, I was one. Everybody stay awake now. It wasn't too happy with what I saw, I confess. J-Mo was the one that got the penalty during the game, so the referees didn't even catch it or see it. I just thought, in my opinion, regardless of what happened, you don't need to retaliate because it's like hockey. Second man gets caught, he's talented receiver, and I'm glad he's with our Detroit Lions. When it absolutely positively has to be there overnight. I agree, Ken. It's a good take. He is a talented receiver, and I'm glad he's with us. And at the time, I was pissed too. I was like, what an immature move. 15 yards. You just negated a great play. A first down pickup. I was mad about it too. But in hindsight, and now we know the truth, he's absolved, in my opinion. Mike says chump change for these guys. Not on a rookie contract, it's not, Mike. 20 grand is not chump change to a guy making 700,000. Nah, not chump change. That one hurt, trust me. Adam with a great take here. He says, I'm pretty sure this game on Sunday is a Super Bowl preview. KC and Philly are not ready. Interesting. Mike says he meant the tripping was still wrong. Absolutely. Paul's a supervillain. He's in the house. He said the dude's face swelled up like Kanye West. I'd like to bring in now our producer, the Villain Squad personified. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the program the maestro, Russell Wayne. Welcome to the program, Russ.
What's going on, Mike?
Welcome to the program that you're behind the scenes producing.
Hey, I like being back there, and I mean the content that you're putting out there right now is fantastic. These are great conversation pieces, so I love it. So
great. Thank you very much for that. You're watching the Main Event Football Show. We're here every Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Don't forget to tune in to the morning show. We'll be back here again Monday, hopefully talking about a victory over the Buffalo Bills and a 13-1 record by these Detroit Lions. But we'll also be back on Monday through Saturday on the Lions Villain Report with Russell Wayne, 10 a.m. every morning, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. And on Thursday, we'll do our predictions. So be sure to tune into that show and track our record on predictions. We do have a game to predict tonight, and that is Cincinnati at the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are plus 5.5 at home. They're 1-5 at home this year. And Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase come into Dallas, and we're going to make predictions on that right here at the end. But I want to stay on this track here. J-Mo, as I said, 710 yards. He only needs to average 72 yards per game down the stretch the last 4 games to make it to 1,000 yards. His counterpart on the other side, Amon-Ra St. Brown, 81 catches, 863 yards, 9 TDs, an average depth of target 10.7 yards. He needs to average at least 34 yards per game to make it to 1,000 yards. I think that's a lot. J-Mo's, Amon-Ra's at 863, J-Mo's at 710. It's very possible, I'm not even going to say probably, it's likely that both of these guys get to 1,000 yards. And you might say, oh, that's great. Hell, there have been teams that have had 4 wide receivers get 1,000 yards in a season. So it's not that special that the Lions have 2. Well, they haven't had 2 in quite a long time. And then let's take a look at the running backs, shall we? David Montgomery, 180 carries, 771 yards. He has a 4.3 yard per carry average and 12 touchdowns. David Montgomery needs 56 yards per game down the stretch to get 1,000. That almost seems like a lot. Jahmyr Gibbs, he's already got 1,000 yards on 178 carries with a whopping 5.7 yard per carry average and 10 touchdowns. So Monty and Gibbs could each get 1,000 yards, folks. That's not that big a deal. Many teams have had 2,000-yard rushers before. But you know what? No team ever in the history of professional football has had 2 1,000-yard runners and 2 1,000-yard receivers in the same season. Feel free to Google it. It's never been done. If this happens, this will be historic. This will put this offense in a category all by themselves when it's all said and done, regardless of how far they go in the playoffs. We're talking about records here. A duo that rushes for 1,000 and a receiver tandem that receives for 1,000 yards each. It's unheard of, never been done. It will set this team apart in the annals of NFL football for prolific offenses, right up there with the greatest show on turf. That's the kind of stat you want to have right there. Russell, what will that mean? What do you think? How huge is that if we have 2 receivers with 1,000 and 2 running backs with 1,000? What does that mean for what this offense is?
Well, it means it's like from a spacing standpoint, it's unstoppable.
Great call.
I mean, I was talking about that on my show this morning, how the most interesting stat from this last Green Bay game, it wasn't that, you got these 2 great running backs. They averaged less than 4 yards a carry, less than 3 yards a carry for Jahmyr Gibbs. They had 6 players that had 5 or more receptions. So it isn't just 4 1,000-yard receivers, it's the spacing of the entire offense. And I do believe they'll both get there. Honestly, I think that Jameson's he still has that big blow up game. He's about due to have like a 4-catch, 170-yard type of performance because he's just going to run away from somebody by the end of the season. So I think he's going to get most of that in one game.
He needs to average 72 yards per game to get to that 1,000.
Yeah, I think that he'll get a big, huge chunk, and then he'll have a couple pedestrian, 50, 40-yard games too. But I think he has one blow-up game in him. That's what I really believe that with Jameson. With David Montgomery, with what you're talking about, I just think that that's just a grind. He needs what is he at? Like
771. He needs 56 yards a game.
56 yards a game. That's probably about what he'll get.
That's probably what his over-under is right now on FanDuel.
Yeah, I think that's about what he'll get. He'll probably get 50, 60, 70 yards a game.
I love your call out, though. What it really means is that we can attack you so many different ways in this offense. Who are you going to stop? Right. You tried. It was obvious that Green Bay was shutting down Amon-Ra. They weren't going to let Amon-Ra beat us. So Tim Patrick gets 2 TDs because you can't stop everyone. Right. And Goff is so good at going through his progressions. He's so cerebral back there in the pocket. That's his biggest strength. You've said that many times. It's his biggest strength is to be able to go through his progressions effectively and quickly and find the open receiver and be accurate. Those are his best attributes. So he's the right quarterback for this team, no doubt. Let's take a look ahead now, Russ. Let's go ahead and pick this Monday night game. Cincinnati at Dallas. The spread was 5.5 last time I knew. Be sure to tune in, folks, on Thursday mornings at 10 a.m. for our prediction show. There were 12 games on the slate this week, and I picked a paltry 4 and 8. Dwayne Keene picked a paltry 5 and 7.
He came on and did you see his comment in there? He's claiming that he went 8 and 4.
No. No. Is that what he's claiming? 8 and 4?
He put it in the comments this morning. Yeah,
no,
so he's calling you out, man.
No, we did. We all had. Maybe he's counting things like the Miami game where the spread was 6 and they won by exactly 6. That's a push, and we all lose. Sorry. Also, Detroit Lions. We both put the Detroit Lions. It was a 3.5-point spread. They only won by 3. We all lose.
I think he's picking the games. I honestly, I think that he picked 8 games with no spread is what I think he did.
Okay. Let's take a look real quick at Josh Allen and these. We're looking at the Monday night game, Cincinnati at Dallas. I was checking to see.
And then we can get in there. We got 10 minutes. We'll be able to talk about next week's game. But let's hit this.
Yeah, let's get this out of the way here. I'm just checking to make sure that the line hasn't changed because I write these down on Thursday. A lot happens between Thursday and Monday. So just real quick here, Face ID. Here we go.
Cooper Rush. That's my quarterback. Oh, that's
Monday Night Football. It is gone. It has moved. The line has gone down from 5.5 to 5. So it is Cincinnati -5 on the road. The Cowboys are a home dog. Put it in the comments. Tell us what you like on this bet. And Russell Wayne, I'm going to ask you first. It's 5 points. Who you got?
Oh my gosh, those poor Cincinnati Bengals, right? They got Joe Burrow, man. They got the only starting quarterback that's on either team. So give me the Bengals minus the points.
Russ taking the Bengals. I also like the Bengals, probably to go in and blow out the Cowboys. Joe Burrow's playing the best quarterback in the entire league. He has the best quarterback play right now in the entire league. His team just stinks, and he can't get a win.
You just want to see that stupid look on Jerry Jones' face up in his box. The I'm gonna fire everybody look.
Adam McIntyre says he thinks the Bengals too. Davey thinks Cincinnati also. Put it in there. Tell us what you think. Yeah, Ken Fisher calling out Jaden Reed didn't have a darn thing in the stat box against the Lions, right? We shut him down.
Who? These guys, all of these wide receivers that are supposed to be like, oh, we have 3 Amon-Ra St. Browns. No, you don't.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you got, I can't believe they shut him down to 0, though. I mean, I don't know. I think Aaron Glenn deserves a lot of credit for that. Before we get into that, I wanted to start something that I'm going to prepare you for tomorrow's program that is going to go along with PFF. And because I already kind of did the PFF on Saturday, I want to do this because I've been talking about these clutch plays, right? I think that these clutch plays and the Lions are showing the clutch genes, and that there's big time players making big plays in the biggest moments. And I really believe that it's only 4 or 5 plays. I'm going to identify what I believe are those 4 or 5 plays, and most of them are probably going to be the 4th down plays, but the ones that had the biggest amount of energy and momentum could change the tide. And that one 4th down that we didn't get, that should count. That's one of those big moments that Green Bay won. And absolutely. I believe those moments are the most important moments in the game. Besides all of the kung fu back and forth, people are going to make some plays here and there. These guys are all professionals. But there's 4 or 5 plays that turn the tides of the game. And I'm going to go through my top 5 tomorrow morning on the show, along with the PFF Tuesday.
I love it. Looking ahead to the Buffalo Bills game, this is a weekly program, so we look back at that beautiful victory against the Packers, but we also look ahead to the Buffalo Bills game. Buffalo is getting 1.5. The Lions favored by 1.5 at home. And by the way, folks, they will be wearing the black uniforms.
What?
Motor City Black, Buffalo on
the
Sunday night.
Uniform.
It's a 4:25 kickoff. And last week, Josh Allen, 22 of 37 for 342 yards and 3 touchdowns. Oh, yeah. He also rushed for 3 touchdowns. If you had Josh Allen in your fantasy team this week, you won. You don't need to look at it. You won. If you're playing Josh Allen this week, you lost. 3 on the ground, 3 through the air. The guy is just amazing. But guess what? They lost the game, because the Rams were able to put up 44 and they only put up 42. But this guy's going to be tough to stop. Rushing, James Cook had 6 carries for 20 yards. Paltry. It was Josh Allen was the run. You can stop the run against this team and make Josh Allen beat you. That's always been a recipe for Justin Fields. That's always been a recipe for some of these other guys. That's not the recipe for Josh Allen, because he will beat you with his arm or his legs. I had the Lions taking the L at the beginning of the season on this game. The Buffalo Bills are 10-3. Losing to the Rams hurt them yesterday. It really hurt them getting the number 1 seed in the AFC, because if Kansas City could lose a game, if those damn Chiefs could just lose one of these 1-score games, the Bills would be in the driver's seat because they had the tiebreaker by beating the Chiefs. But now they fall behind in the win column by losing to the Rams. Rams scrapping to keep their playoffs hopes alive. The Rams could sneak in down the stretch and get into these playoffs. A lot of people counting them out. But they beat the Bills. The team the Lions have coming in, Josh Allen's an all-world player. And they get back. This can't be understated, folks. Matt Milano came back yesterday from a long injury. This was his second serious injury that he suffered in back-to-back seasons. Before that, he was an all-pro. Matt Milano is the real deal. And they have other good players like Ed Oliver and Greg Rousseau on that defense. They are no joke. The Lions, if they can move the ball in any fashion the way that the Rams did, the Lions should be able to win this game and cover that 1.5. We'll predict that game on Thursday on the prediction show. But right now it's 1.5 Detroit favorite over Buffalo. I did predict that the Lions would get an L in this game, but I never predicted they'd be 12-1 either. So it's going to take some thought between now and Thursday. But both of us are taking Cincinnati tonight, -5. And appreciate everybody who put their comments in today. Appreciate all you villains. Let everyone know that I am available on all social media. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Threads, Blue Sky, even TikTok. Yeah, that's right. Main Event Mike on TikTok. Follow me at Main Event Mike. Give your boys some love. Of course, I'll still be seeing you on the Villain Squad morning show twice a week, and on this very program once a week at 7 p.m. Thanks for everybody who supports the Villain Squad, and thanks for everybody who supports at Main Event Mike. This is a magical season, folks, and I'm really glad to be able to spend it with all of you. For Russell Wayne, I'm Main Event Mike. We'll see you next week at 7 p.m. Eastern Time for the Main Event Football Show. Until then, God bless each and every one of you. Peace out.